Chapter 46, Strike 1. So here we are, Michael. You're here, I'm here. What do you want? Madboy had always been a killjoy, the babbling, stuttering, not so sure of himself brains of the team. And now he just looked like that man, but safe from his embarrassing Shamrock beginnings. Which really suits him well, though, compared to how he looked when he just looked like one of us. He had a ponytail now. Simple way to tell if somebody's a bad guy in the 80s. He'll always have a fucking ponytail. All in all, the hard knocks life of Uptown had really seemed to have made him more conservative, more refined, and more pretentious. An ideal candidate for a materialistic man of the 80s. Back then, they all dressed like a gang of dilapidated misfits. Now, the old boy had grown into a $5,000 styling Armani suit. Fuck this shit. I still remember you for who you were. Now let's see how you'd feel about it, me bringing up them yesteryears with you. Wow, Madboy, those are some nice dreads you got there. Finally looking like you know what's what, like you would know what the fuck is going on, what you be talking about, said Michael, bopping his head back and forth, journey facing up a storm. That was an inside joke of theirs, always being Madboy's duties to whine and moan about the situation of the Shamrocks, Madboy's duties to ignore him like he was an idiot. Michael felt like bringing this up now and seeing how he would react. Madboy just stood there nodding and eyeing Michael, remembering Michael and his awful, awful Shamrock beginnings, while seeming to try and hide an eye twitch. So I heard you've been running around thumping skulls, getting yourself into a lot of trouble, and all to see me. So, what is it, Mr. Michael Connelly? Why have you been doing all this? Asked Madboy, bopping his head as well to mock Michael back, but unable to keep up the same groove and looking silly while at it. Michael just smiled then and said nothing and felt like he was onto him. You know exactly what I'm here for, thought Michael. You want money? Asked Madboy, and that now pissed Michael off. What are you? Well, said Michael, cutting Anthony off. Mr. Anthony Koo. But before he could finish, Michael then almost busted out into laughter, remembering how stupid Madboy's last name really was. You know, I forgot how to pronounce your last name, actually. How did it go again? Cucci, Cucci, Cucci. It's Italian, Michael. The CH is silent, so it's just cookie, as in a cookie, snapped Madboy, remembering how he had been through with this with Michael at least half a dozen times back in the day. Cookie? Okay, cookie boy. Should I call you that now, or do you still go by Madboy? Still sounds stupid, cookie. Well, I guess it's better than having the name that sounds like someone's tickling a vagina. Tony didn't speak. How about just Tony? Can I at least call you that? Mr. Cookie still said nothing. Oh, you fucking killjoy, stop staring at me like that. Like some uptown prick whose sole mission in life is to rid the world of humor. You know, I remember you wanted to be called Pony Boy at one time, especially after you read that book, mentioned Michael for some reason or another. Anthony then made a face, as if that really struck a chord with him. Yeah, I did. That was the original nickname I wanted to go by, but then you didn't like how I was not being original and started calling me Coochie Boy instead, and I wasn't having that. Mentioning Anthony back. Oh yeah, Coochie Boy. Yeah, I remember calling you. Where the fuck are you going with this? Asked Anthony. Yeah, where the fuck am I going with this? Thought Michael, and felt like it was time to start getting a little serious. Well, first off, I'm kind of wondering why I never heard from you the entire time I was in prison. I mean, we used to be such good friends back then and all, and Anthony didn't speak again, and Michael now felt like he was losing patience, wondering if he should continue playing these games or should he just get to the matter. And looking at Nikki, who was still sprawled out on that table, Michael began to feel at odds with the two, and interestingly enough, mostly with her. She's like a stranger. What is it with actually just think of her as that, a stranger and nothing more? Michael, what do you want? Asked Nikki in a vapid tone. You know what? Fuck Madboy. I think I want to take this up with you instead. So do you and Nikki have a thing now? Asked Michael, out of the blue while piercing his eyes at her. Nikki didn't like this. She was no longer acting like the cartoon villain from a minute ago, as her aura of exclusivity began to fall apart, for she was no longer looking all indifferent to what Michael had to ask about. "Yes, Michael, actually we're engaged to be married," broke out Madboy. In whatever sense of composure Michael felt he had been able to build up dealing with these two, felt completely lost now from what he had just heard, for that there stung hard. Oh, really deep, ferocious and fierce, which almost had Michael going back for it. No, no, no! How many times am I going to kiss it in front of them? That just shows weakness. The words had sunk down deep into Michael's chest and had made him feel like he was going to have a heart attack. Madboy felt nauseated as he turned away for a second, then looked back at the two and glared at them both in a menacing manner. Now Michael's aura of exclusivity was beginning to fall apart. Also, 1,000 emotions began cooking inside of him, being cooked like a pressure cooker. Nikki had noticed this, and so had Madboy. Anthony then quickly grabbed Nikki by the hand and started massaging it like some gentle suitor would. Michael felt really broken up inside now as Anthony broke out a smile. Nikki, on the other hand, now just looked, I still don't know what. Still has that stupid facade up, hiding everything. You want to kiss your crucifix again, don't you? I remember you doing that crazy shit a lot back in the day. Strangely, I don't remember you ever being religious. Put it out, Madboy, as he had a small disdainful laugh. One simple one, so as not to be breaking character. Michael looked down now, looking distraught. Oh, and the wedding will be held at the lighthouse at Chelsea Pier of March. Nikki had then quickly whipped away her hand, cutting Madboy off in mid-sentence with her sudden withdrawal. Michael barely noticed this, but did notice some tension between the two now, as if they weren't at full accordance with each other. Something is up here, but whatever. Okay, Michael, let's get to business. What do you want? Do you need money or no? You looking for a handout? Asked Madboy, breathing faster, seeming to also be losing his patience. Michael didn't respond. Or is it maybe someone you want? Madboy had then made a ridiculing look, all buggy-eyed, as he stared down at Nikki as to suggest. Michael felt fits of rage now, wanting to lash out. Nikki, why the fuck did you get with this jackass? Did you do our thing to him too? Michael now felt like breaking loose completely, on a rampage and murdering everything he could get his mitts on. He felt it as he also felt the need to continue fighting the temptation. Don't forget my rosary. I feel like it might be time I truly, truly let it all out. Thought Michael as he looked down at his mitts, then looked up at Madboy and then said it. Madboy sends his regards. There was a pause amongst the three. What? Asked Madboy in confusion. Madboy looked down and up at Madboy again and said it again. Madboy sends his regards. It was time to end this. It had been an interesting journey for Michael, coming from some halfway house shithole, fighting his way to the top, and now here facing the man amongst the clouds, but it was now time to end this. I hate beating around the bush. And that's exactly what I've been doing right now. This is what I came here for, and it's now time I end this. What's up, Tony? You want to raise hell with me? Well, if you do, I can show you what that's going to be like. For trying to murder my sister to get to me, you cocksucking piece of shit. And the odd part was Michael was still staring all at Nikki as he thought this. As piece by piece, Nikki began breaking apart from Michael's stare. No reborn lady anymore, but someone that seemed much more familiar. You remember the night that my sister's face was burned to a crisp, Madboy? Asked Michael. Madboy seemed at a loss as his eyes began to fidget left to right. Nikki seemed to have now petrified, still like a statue, frozen over in a sullen state, for she at least remembered Michael's words over this matter when he had brought it up to her in prison. Well, anyways, continued Michael, I remember seeing a couple of numbskulls laughing and pointing at her building that night, and when I decided to sincerely ask them what was so funny, they told me Madboy sends his regards. Michael's eyes were now wider than they ever had been before. They were now madder, than they had ever been before. They were bloodshot, deranged. Now both Madboy and Lady Nikki knew that the next wrong answer might set him off. And you, Madboy was stuttering now. Believed them? Madboy didn't say a word. His face and demeanor had frozen over with the look of derangement, and the longer it stayed fixed in that expression, the more it was unnerving the two other parties at hand. Jason Voorhees was now rising from Crystal Lake. Unflinchingly, unnervingly, and unrelentingly, I stare at you both now, so tell me something to make me stop. So, this is what it's all about. You think I betrayed you? You're here for revenge, gasped Madboy's sweat began to roll down his forehead. You said it yourself, I've been a bad boy lately, running around thumping skulls and all to see you. Why else would you figure I would go through all that trouble? Asked Michael as his eyes began shooting out nails. But now Madboy cringed up with teeth and began his own front. Well, I don't know, Michael, maybe because you're a fucking lunatic? The response was strong with Madboy, and it took it a bit out of Madboy's posture. I mean, back then, any problem we had with the numbskulls or the Repo Men or the Jam City Fives was always because of you. Sassboy at least would start trouble for the jokes, but in the end, he was harmless because he knew his limits. You, on the other hand, always did it because you wanted blood. You and that fucking temper of yours, you always had to start conflict and drag the rest of the bloody Shamrocks into it. I mean, I know you, and how many enemies have you already made tonight trying to get to us? How many, Michael? How many? Michael didn't respond, as he thought about how he was definitely enemies with the beefcakes now. Everyone has stumpies, almost, and if the nymphos didn't take too kindly what he did to Boommatic, he was probably now enemies with them too. Yeah, just as I thought. A pause followed, then Madboy began again. That's why the bloody Shamrocks never went anywhere, because you kept us from expanding. Any connection I tried to make, you'd fuck it all up. Like when you fucked Betamax's sister, who was only 14 years old at the time, you sick freak. If Betamax wasn't so head over heels in love with you, and didn't just so happen to enjoy that reel. And now Anthony made a face, an awkward face, sort of funny too, and said, probably imagining himself on the other end. And now got back to the drilling. That would have been another connection lost. Another pause. Don't even get me started on how hard it was afterwards to get reacquainted with the Ravishers from all the shit you put them through. Fact is, ever since you've been out of our lives, me and Nikki have been doing great. Doing swell. Everything has been peachy. You were always nothing more than a thorn to our side. Now that you're out of prison, I can see you've become nothing less than a raving psychopath. Madboy then peered out in retaliation, for he was beginning not to like where this was going. You're dangerous, Michael. I can see that now. Someone this time needs to lock you up and throw away the key. So why don't you do me and Nikki a favor and get the fuck out of this office and out of our lives, but for good this time? Madboy was now done. Madboy, on the other hand, hadn't even started. He wanted to rip the pompous look on Madboy's face, who had just told him he deserved to be locked back up again, but for good this time. Go back in for another 5 to 10 years so you can continue fucking Nikki and laughing at what you did? Oh, fuck you. And then there's this bitch just lying there, still sprawled out on this table like some dessert, a treat for Cookie Boy there after he's finished dealing with me. Michael now felt like dealing with Madboy personally, in the only way he knew best. Madboy felt ready. He felt ready to pass judgment, but before the execution, Madboy felt he should at least let his dear old friend here know what his verdict was. So as he closed his eyes again, opened them up one final time, he then said it. Strike one. And now things really began. Madboy and Nikki flinched a bit at first in confusion of what that meant, but when they saw the look in Madboy's eyes, rage incarnate, they almost freaked as they realized what was about to go down. Almost freaked, and Madboy enjoyed watching them almost do so. Nikki now looked like she was contemplating over how badly she had screwed up telling Jamil to stand back earlier, because the fact was, they were all alone. And if Michael was to kill them both with his bare hands, there was nobody there to stop him. They knew Madboy's anger. They knew his wrath all too well. But for some reason, up until now, they had chosen to underestimate it. Wait, I'm not gonna attack her too, am I? Strike one? What type of Michael? I had nothing to do with it, nothing. What, you think Nikki could have something to do with it too? What, you too? And then all of a sudden, Michael shifted as he glared at Nikki like the Grim Reaper. For what he had just heard took things into a newer and much more scarier level. So scary even Michael grew scared, realizing how angered he now felt. And something in him now changed, as whatever graciousness there was left within him got twisted and turned wretched. And as he looked down at his mitts again, he felt them crying out for blood, her blood, crying out in strange tongues that sounded demonic in a way, you can say. Nikki, getting a sense of this through Michael's eyes, quickly got up and walked over to a corner, not facing the two, while holding her arms. Who the fuck is this? What you gonna do, Madboy? Strangle us? Both? Here? You're in Uptown. The second you step out of this office, you're going to be in a world of shit. Forget about prison. You be lucky if you're not hogtied with an apple in your mouth, left stranded in the middle of Central Park as a night slasher's supper. Lucky. Michael then began laughing hysterically, giving them the sense as if he even cared. All that mattered for him was this moment, for the future had nothing of value to him. What do I have to do tomorrow except go back to my zilch life? I got nothing. I got nowhere to go. I got nobody to be with. LaToya wants nothing to do with me anymore, and this bitch now looks like she's turned evil just to spite me for the sake of spiting me. And nothing else. Thought Michael, as the demonic shit his midst were crying out began making sense to him. Strike two, lady of the night, called out Michael, lashing his head in her direction. Did you also have something to do with that night, huh? Or what the fuck have I done to deserve this heartache, huh? Nikki turned and had the look of eyes flashing light from the headlights of an approaching runaway vehicle, approaching fast to seal her doom. Madboy now felt like he wanted this lady to have a chance with an answer, for obviously Madboy didn't have any clue as to what the fuck he was doing and the danger he was putting themselves in. Nikki now had a trench coat on, as if she was feeling embarrassed for everything that had led to this point. Why the fuck would you do this to me, huh? Mary used to be your best friend. And then all of a sudden, the last piece of Nikki's facade fell. And Mike was now finally able to see what lay underneath.